What's up, Eagles Nation? So we're heading into Week 14, which is a battle of the birds, of course, in Seattle. At Eagles at Seattle, Sunday night football, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. I'm really looking forward to this game, as I said a week ago. It's going to be a good game, and I think it'll be a close game. Look, the Seahawks, this is basically for their season. So you know we're going to get their best effort. And Seattle is a very good team in December. They have a terrific December record since Russell Wilson's been there, and they've been doing their thing. I know that they have some injuries. Obviously, no Richard Sherman or Mr. Keep my name out your mouth, or Cam Chancellor or Cliff Vril. But it is going to be a good, hard-fought game. I believe the Eagles are going to win. I mean, we certainly owe Seattle, don't we? I mean, I remember so many bad losses to Seattle over the years. And in recent years, obviously, last year, look, they just weren't ready, for that game. But I think they're ready for it now. And it's going to be a good game. I mean, the Eagles have been on some roll. We know this. 10-1, 9 straight wins. The hottest team still in football. They've played tremendous. I know a lot of people were saying now you see on the NFL Network and all that, oh, well, who are they playing? I mean, but you play who you play. You play who's on your schedule. Why are the Eagles playing the teams that they're playing right now? Well, it's because of how the Eagles finished last season, 7-9. You're 7-9, and you play. You play some teams that finished and that's similar in their divisions. And obviously, the Eagles have to play in the AFC West teams this year. So they have in a way benefited from the schedule, but if you're a really good team, you still win those games. I mean, the Steelers and Panthers lost to the Bears, this season. So you still got to play these teams, and if you're a really good team, if you're a great team, you take care of business in those games, particularly your games at home against those teams, and that's what this team's done. So you can't take anything away from them. People want to come up with excuse after excuse. And what people fail to realize is the Eagles are doing this with all those injuries to key positions. They've lost Jason Peters, a future Hall of Famer left tackle. They lost Darren Sproles, one of the great playmakers on this team. A great special teamer. They lost Maragos, their special teams captain. If you look at the special teams alone, they lost Darren Sproles and Maragos. Okay? They lost Jordan Hicks, a starting middle linebacker, the quarterback of the defense. There were games where they had other injuries. Darby was out for how many weeks, right? You had Zach Ertz out for the Denver game, one of their best receivers on the year, and they still put up 51 points on a really good defense. So it's never the fault of the team who you're playing and when you're playing them and what the situation of the other team might be. It's not the Eagles' fault. You still got to play these teams, and if you're a great team, you still take care of it. You still take care of business. Look at the Patriots every year, right? And they've benefited largely in a down division in the AFC East. But what do? They still win those games. They take care of business against the Bills and the Jets and the Dolphins all those years, right? When times were tough for those franchises. And times are still tough for some of those franchises. It's not the Patriots' fault. They just do what they do. And if you're a great team, you take care. You have the record that you do at the end of the year, so you get the home field advantage, or at least a home game and a bye week, and then your chances to go to the Super Bowl increase. It's not the Eagles' fault. They've taken care of business. Now, these next 2 weeks, they are going to play good teams. On the road, Seattle and the Rams. Boy, who would have thought before the season began that the Eagles and Rams game would be one of the great games of the season? But that's the situation. As much as we can say about the bad teams, what about some of these surprise teams that they're playing, right? Like the Rams. You play who you play. The Eagles don't pick the schedule, okay? So all these excuses that people love to give, I mean, you just haven't watched this team play. You're going to say, well, the Bears are one of the best rushing offenses in the league. Look what they did against the Steelers to win that game. Ask Steelers fans about Howard and what he did against them and Cohen earlier in the season in Chicago. Steeler fans can tell you what they did against them, what they do against the Eagles. 6 yards. That's dominance. That's taking care of business beyond taking care of business against an opponent. This team's balled this year. And one of the key reasons for that is because of the quarterback. And one of his weapons was taken care of because recently the Eagles extended the contract for Alshon Jeffery 4 years. I forget. I didn't see the dollar amount, but I know they extended him for 4 years, and I think that's a good move. Has he had an eye popping statistical type of season? No, but he's been a good receiver here, and in recent month or so, he and Carson have really found a nice rapport together. And why take weapons away from Carson, right? You got to keep him here. They took care of Timmy Jernigan, who was a great pickup, a 1 year prove it type of deal from the Ravens. And now they took care of Alshon Jeffery, 4 years on a 1 year prove it deal and a free agent from the Bears. Good move, Howie Roseman, who's done nothing but good moves since he's been back as the GM. And thank you for Jeffrey Lurie to bring him back as GM. It's been a great move. He's done a lot. He's learned a lot in those years when he wasn't. He comes back to it better for it, and he's done nothing but great things. They've surrounded him with some good guys, too, in that front office, and they have been tremendous. We have been asking for this for so many years, and now we're finally getting it, and I can't be happier or prouder about it. Because I still can't get over that dumpster fire that this team was 2 years ago and Chip Kelly's last year, to what they are now. It's night and day. It's unbelievable. And I think that says a lot about the coaching staff. It says a lot about the players and the heart and the character of the players that are brought in. And I think it says a lot about the front office. You have a guy that's able to manipulate the cap like Howie can, and you get good players, character players on your team. Not a lot of problem makers on this team, right? Not a lot of troublemakers. And a team with good character is always going to find a way. You see it with the Patriots. You see it with some of these other teams that are always there, right? Those are the teams that do it. And this team. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm saying this team's on that path to do something special, something that this franchise has never done. It's in the Super Bowl era. People love to discount the NFL championships. A championship's a championship. You win it. You earn it. That's all there is to it. And the Eagles have 3 of them. It wasn't Super Bowls. It wasn't called Super Bowls back then, but it was the NFL championship, and this team had 3 of them. The only team ever to beat Vince Lombardi's Packers in a championship game. No other team can say that but the Eagles. But people like to poo-poo and say, oh, it goes to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl wasn't the Super Bowl until the 80s and 90s. Let's not forget that. And that's when it became popular. That's when it became the game and the big deal. As far as people were concerned, because of the TV. What happened with TV? What happened with commercialization? The betting? That's when it became a big game. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan of a team that hasn't won it. It's the truth. You just have to go back and look at the history. And it doesn't take anything away from those teams that won Super Bowls. But I mean, I'm sure there's people who say, "Oh, the Super Bowl." They're probably the same people that poo-poo the teams that won it in like the 60s and 70s or whatever until like Montana came along or something like that. It's like, come on, people. Just look at the history. That's all you have to do. I know you love to remind us about history of what we don't have, but just look at the history of the game and you'll learn a few things too. It takes a lot to win. It takes a lot of things going right. There's a lot of moving parts to win a championship. It takes a lot of luck. And if the Eagles can get there and can win with Carson Wentz, guess what? It took a lot of luck to get Carson Wentz. They were in the teens that year in the draft. They moved up to 8 and then 2. 2 moves by Howie to get their guy. And I said last season, before the season, after those moves were made to get Carson Wentz, I said that took balls. That's a ballsy type of move. Because if you believe in someone that much that you're going to make those moves and give up what they gave up picks, they gave up players. Okay, well, the players weren't going to work out here in Kiko Alonso and Byron Maxwell, which, by the way, Maxwell now back with Seattle. Hey, Carson, little hint, throw in his direction. We remember him when he was here. His nickname here was Burnt Toast. Because he would just get burnt all the time, Byron Maxwell. Anyhow, yeah, those weren't good years for the cornerbacks here. Oh God, I'm glad we're away from that. That was tough. Um, it's been great, and Carson has shown this season exactly why they moved up twice to get him and to give up what they gave up to get him. He looks like he's going to be one of those franchise quarterbacks, one of those great quarterbacks for over a decade in this league, and it's great to see. And I'm glad that they extended Alshon Jeffery. I think he's earned it. I mean, look, again, is he putting up, incredible numbers? No. He's not a number one receiver, but he's a solid receiver, and he as the season has gone along, he has gotten more comfortable in this offense, and he's really flourished in it in recent time. And he's made some big plays. And he and Carson have found a rapport together, and why not keep guys like that around? Gone are the days, just bring a guy in and get rid of him. No, let these guys grow with the quarterback. Nelson Aguilar, who thought we'd be saying this a year ago, right? I mean, amazing. Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffery, and Hollins are going to be the future at wide receiver on this team. Because I don't think Torrey Smith's going to be part of the future. But I think Hollins and Aguilar and Jeffrey, and of course Wentz and the running backs. This is going to be a dynamic offense for years to come. Hey, NFC East opponents, you get to see us twice a year. For many years, you get to see number 11, number 17, number 10, number number 13, unless he changes his number again, 86. And, of course, all the running back, the ones that will be here for a number of years. Jay Ajayi, Clement, who's been a great pickup. Undrafted rookie out of Wisconsin, local guy. Great move there. Look, all the moves have been golden to this point. Now, as we know, you can make all these great moves and not win, and where are you then, right? This isn't just about this season. The moves that they are making now is about the future. Always have an eye on the future, right? The present is great, 10-1, but keep this thing rolling for over a decade. Boy, if we can be one of those teams, oh, the dream of dreams, right? Because we've watched some bad football here too, and we know what that's about. So to see this team turn around this year and have a great year, it's all we ever could have asked for. And you know what? Anything can happen. Nothing's given. Nothing is for sure. I mean, the Patriots had an undefeated season until the Super Bowl, right? Let's not forget those many years ago. Losing to Eli and the Giants. And Eli got him twice. And speaking of Eli, and I did want to make mention of this too because it does deal with the division. Eli, of course, benched earlier in the week, ending his streak at starting. NFL, only Brett Favre had more starts in a row, I believe, than Eli. And not only is he benched, he's not benched for a rookie. He's benched for Geno Smith. It's just one of the most bizarre situations. And I'm not a Giants fan, obviously. I can't speak as a Giants fan, but I can speak of a fan of another team in that division. It's bizarre. And I don't know what the Giants' idea is. I don't know if... Obviously, this isn't a playoff year for them. They're already out of it. I mean, I saw an NFL Network. They were they were comparing this to the Sixers a little bit. Trust the process. Which, look, we dealt with that for a number of years. Is glad to see it starting to work here. But, bizarre. And I know that, look, what's the team Eli's had the most trouble with against in his history, right, in his career? The Eagles. All those years, right? We've seen a lot of Eli face around here, okay? But I will say this. Look, give the guy credit. He has been a great pro there. Obviously, the guy was an Iron Man. He never got hurt. He took a lot of hits. For a guy that never had a great offensive line, really, I mean, particularly in recent years, I guess they had a decent one, the years they were going to the Super Bowl. But a guy that got hit as many times as he did, never got hurt, And Peyton never got hurt a lot. He had a neck issue, but he never got hurt a lot. Something about those Mannings, right? Um, I think that's a testament to him, and I think that shows that he was a really good quarterback there. He gave him 2 chips. I mean, look, he gave him 2 Super Bowls. The only team to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl with the Giants. But by the way, Patriot fans, you guys had trouble with the Giants and Eli. Who didn't have trouble with Eli over the years. I mean, I'm just saying. No, it's bizarre. And I don't know what the offseason is going to bring for the Giants. I don't know if this means for sure he's going to be out or if they get another coach and GM in there and they believe in Eli and he stays around, which I could see him doing. But I could also see him being moved and maybe they bring in a rookie quarterback or whoever their young quarterback is behind Geno if they want to try to get him in the games at the end of the season or whatnot. I honestly don't know. Bizarre. I'm trying to think if he does get dealt where he would go. I'm thinking maybe Jacksonville, because Tom Coughlin's still down there, in the front office, or does he, follow his brother and go to Denver? Which I think would be interesting if both Mannings, Peyton and Eli end their careers in Denver. I think that'd be kind of cool in a way, if you think about it. But I mean, look, this is the Giant fans' problem right now. It's not our problem. But I can speak as a fan of someone who has watched this team when they were kind of going through the motions at the quarterback position. And I know it's tough. And look, quarterbacks don't – it's a tough position, man. It's a tough position. There are still teams that still haven't gotten it right. You look at the Browns, which, by the way, I told my boss, Case Keenum's going to wind up with the Browns next season. They're going to overpay to get him. I guarantee you're going to see Cleveland number 7 Keenum jerseys next season. That's a Browns move. There are teams that just can't get it right. And you look at some of these other teams, the teams that have won Super Bowls, right? I mean, look at the Jets since Namath. Maybe they have had guys that have been okay, or gave them, good years, but, since Namath. The Dolphins. Bob Greasy, perfect season, 72, Dolphins, right? They win. Then Dan Marino, and I know didn't win a Super Bowl, but gave him great years, one of the all-time greats. They haven't had a quarterback since Marino, really, if you think about it. And that's going back to the 90s, right? How many teams, like I said, Cleveland hasn't had a quarterback since they've moved back to Cleveland. Okay? It's amazing when you think about it. It's one position. But it's a position that if you don't get right, it's going to set your franchise back for years, if not decades. Okay? So you can understand why the Eagles did what they did a few years ago. And it was a ballsy move, and they saw something in Wentz. Howie and the Brain Trust there saw something in Wentz that they really believed in to move from where they were in the teams, I think it was 15 or 16, wherever they were, to 8. For the Dolphins, gave up 2 players who weren't going to be a part of the future, but Maxwell and Alonzo in the pick. And then they moved from 8 to 2, giving up their, how many, first round this year and, the next, how many, whatever years. I forget exactly what the deal was, but they certainly gave up a couple first round picks to be able, which, by the way, Howie was able to get back in the Bradford deal. And that turned into Nick Barnett. Which was a good move. So to give all that up, think about all those picks and those players they gave up for one guy, just as a chance that he was going to be the franchise quarterback. And there were times last season, I'm sure that people, and he was thrown right into it, and I think that was good. I think that really helped him, to do that. And I said, after the season, going into this season, I said people were too worried about Doug Peterson's play calling. It's going to be Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is going to be the guy that audibles at the line. Carson Wentz, it's going to be his game. Peterson's going to make his play calls, but Carson, he's going to have more control of this offense this season. Let's not forget he didn't have much of an offense, much of an offseason last year, because he came in, he didn't know he was going to be the guy. It was Bradford was still here, and Carson got hurt in that first preseason game against Tampa. He didn't even have a preseason last year, and he was basically, thrown to the wolves. when Bradford was traded. Okay, Carson, you're our guy. Week 1 against Cleveland. When Cleveland always comes into the scenario somewhere one way or another, don't they? Against Cleveland, against the team that the scouts at the time said this guy isn't worth a number 2 pick. We're not going to take him at number 2, so it's okay. And they didn't take Prescott or Watson either, but the last few years. But again, a franchise that hasn't gotten it right at quarterback since they came back to Cleveland. And a franchise in the Eagles, yeah, they had Donovan all those years, and they had some great years and great runs and NFC title games and the Super Bowl and everything. But think about all those years after Donovan, right? The quarterback carousel that we had here, and now you have it again in Carson, and it's tremendous. You can't say enough about what how what that move has meant, those moves I should say has meant for this franchise and for this fan base to have a season like this now and going forward, not just this year. This isn't end after this year. Nothing's guaranteed. I understand that. There's injuries. There's all sorts of stuff at play. But this is an opportunity for this young quarterback who is a student of the game, in every facet of it, to be one of those dynamic quarterbacks for over a decade going forward, and to silence all those critics that he's had over the year, last year. Oh, he's getting too much plug. He's getting too much, dude, overhyped. Well, I don't know. Not much overhype going this year now, huh? And we go back to the Giants, and I mean, look, Eli, there's always going to come a time when you're a veteran quarterback when it's time to give the reins over to the next guy, right? The younger understudy, right? But Geno Smith, really? I don't know. And maybe they're just doing that because the young guy isn't ready, and they're going to start Geno this year or the rest of the year rather, and maybe a few games, and then start the young kid at the end of the year. I don't know. I don't even know who they have as their young guy. I'm sure Giant fans know a little more than me. Or maybe they just draft a guy this season. Maybe this is, there's a few quarterbacks to be had. So maybe they feel, well, okay, we'll lose some games and, we'll do the old Sixers tanking there and we'll get we'll lose some games for a chance to get the guy. And again, that shows how important this position is. And I know I'm preaching to the choir with other fan bases that have it. Patriot fans know about it, right? I mean, the Steeler fans know about it. The Packer fans know about it, right? The Giant fans have won 2 Super Bowls with it. Dallas fans remember what it was many, many, many years ago with Aikman winning Super Bowls. Romo, they didn't win, but, they had some successful seasons, and obviously, now with Prescott. So, if you don't have it, unless you have one of those all-time defenses, you're in trouble. So you look at the situation. I'm sorry for the shaky camera here. I'm trying to hold it the best I can. My hand's getting a little tired. You look at the situation with the Giants, and I think, again, there's a situation where their guy, Eli Manning, if he's not on his way out, what they're doing now, I don't know how this thing can be rectified this offseason. We'll see. To the situation that the Eagles have right now with a young guy up and coming, just starting his career, of what could be a tremendous, possibly down the road, who knows. I'm not going to put the Wentz wagon before the horse here, but could be Hall of Fame career for all we know. Who knows, right? And you see kind of that kind of difference with the two franchises, and it's just something, But I mean, look, a couple of years ago, like I said, this was a dumpster fire. So what happened from that year, Chip's last season, to now is just unbelievable. It's like you pinch yourself almost type of thing. My goodness. Amazing. So we play Seattle this week. Big game. The next 2 weeks. And for all the people who say, well, who are the Eagles playing? Well, who thought the Rams game was going to be this big, when the schedule came out, right? So you just never know. That's the thing about this league. You never know. Teams that you think are going to be bad or good. Teams that you think are going to be good or bad, like the Giants, right? Going into the season, the Giants were one of the Super Bowl picks. But a lot of people had them winning this division. Dallas, the same situation. So you never know. You play it. You gotta play the games. You gotta let the games play themselves out. And yes, the great teams do take care of business against the bad teams. That's what they do. And that shows you the Eagles are a great team because they took care of business against teams. I remember those years, and again, the Eagles were, one of the better teams in the league those years. But when Andy Reid was here, how many games do we remember? How the heck did they lose this game to a team that had a losing record? How the world did we lose this game? Right? And I'm not a Reid hater, believe me. I'm not a Reid hater. But the guy just the team wasn't always prepared. At times during those years. But now it's like you go to this season, this team's prepared for whoever they play. And not they don't beat the teams that they should beat. They destroy the teams that they should beat. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. That how dominant they've looked at times. And these are tough games. Look, these next 2 weeks, I'm not going to fool anyone. I always give it to you 100%, don't I? These are going to be tough games. Okay? The Seahawks, I know they've lost the last 2 games at home, but they're a very good home team, and they play exceptionally well there in December. So it's gonna be a tough game. I do think the Eagles are gonna win. I think it's gonna be a close game. If the Eagles blow out Seattle, in Seattle, oh boy, and then beat the Rams next week, ooh, oh boy, I don't think anyone can say anything. But these are going to be difficult games. They are. And I think that's a good thing. I think this team needs to be tested. I think that this team needs to kind of, play through some adversity in a game. And that's good for them. I don't see it as a bad thing. I think it's something that they need because you might deal with it in playoffs. These are good games. I'm glad they're playing them now in December. Kind of have little playoff previews, if you will. And I really look forward to these games. I look forward to seeing how my team, the Eagles, of course, play in these games. I think they have a shot. I really do. I think they're going to win tomorrow night, and I think they have a shot against the Rams. Certainly, if they've playing the way they've been playing, and these are good defenses they're going up against, even without half the boom there in Seattle. They're still a good defense. They have a really good front, and they have really good linebackers in Wagner and KJ Wright. Look, I keep an eye on the Seahawks because Russell Wilson is still one of my favorite non-Eagles, if you will. He is a quarterback that I've always liked, and so I've always kind of kept an eye on Seattle. I watch the Seattle games when they're on TV because I like to watch the guy play. I know we're 0-2 against them, so third time's the charm, right? And I know they're tough, and I know how well they play this time of year, particularly in that building. It's going to be tough. It's going to be loud, but how do you shut those fans up? You make plays, okay? Because I've seen that fan base, even now, this season, I've seen them get quiet. When you're beating them, they're not as loud as when you're losing to them. So the 12s are going to be loud, but how do you quiet them? You make plays, and you get the lead on them, and you control the game. But Seattle is a team that you have to play for 4 quarters. You cannot leave your foot off the gas at all in the 4th quarter, no matter what the score is, because that team has a way. Russell is a magic maker. He's a magic man, so you gotta keep contained of him in the pocket. Can't let him get away and make plays with his feet. And he'll make some, but you gotta keep that to a minimum, and you gotta play them for 4 quarters. 4-quarter game. Got to. So I look for the Eagles to win a close game. I'm never good with scores, but if I have to make a pick, I'd say something along the lines of maybe a 31-27 type of game, maybe 31-24 type of game. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit on offense. Maybe they get some garbage touchdowns. How about that? But no, I think the Eagles have a good chance of winning this game. I really do. I think they're more prepared for it than they were a season ago. And watch out for Russell as a receiver, too, from last year. He catches a touchdown pass. Like, oh, why, Russell, why? You couldn't just do that against the other team. So I look for the Eagles to avenge a loss last year in Seattle and get a win in a tough place that it is to win. And, but if the Redskins can win there, right? I mean, and by the way, I have the Harold Carmichael jersey up because, I know Alshon's number 17. I still wish the Eagles would have retired number 17 and number 25 for that matter for Tommy McDonald. I do feel Harold Carmichael should be a Hall of Famer. He was a tremendous player for many years, still one of the tallest receivers, if not the tallest receiver in the history of the game, and was a dominant force back then. And when I see Alshon wearing that number 17, anytime you see an Eagles receiver wearing number 17, you always keep this guy in mind, right? Harold Carmichael, the great number 17. And Alshon will be here another 4 years wearing that number, and hopefully he does it proud and gives us some great years. Again, I think it was a really good extension the Eagles made to keep Alshon Jeffery in the fold or in the nest, if you will, for the next at least 4 seasons. I think him and Carson are going to keep that rapport going, and he's going to be a big part of this offense going forward. Great job as always, as it's been just a long line of great jobs by the brain trust of this franchise, Howie Roseman and company. And let's all enjoy the game tomorrow night. All right, Eagles Nation, as always, let's go Birds. And I'll see you guys after the game with some post-game reaction. Hopefully we're talking about win number 10 in a row, 11-1. Oh, my God. Can you have even imagined that when the season started? We'll see. Going to be a tough game, but I think the Eagles are ready for it this year, and we'll take care of the 12s this time around. All right, everyone. Take care. Go Birds.